Good morning. It's time for yoga. Today we're going to focus a lot on the lower body. This would be a really great practice for anyone, but in particular, if you do a lot of walking or even running, we're going to focus today on trying to stretch the front of the thighs, the back of the legs, the hips, and across the chest, because sometimes when we're doing a lot of walking or a lot of sitting, we begin to round forward. So we want to work on improving posture and stretching all of the muscles that impact those stretches. And we're not going to be doing inversions as far as headstands or anything like that, since this is a gentle class, but we will be doing down dog and some poses just to get some blood flow to the brain. So we'll do legs up the wall. But let's get started. We'll start just seated today. So just have a comfortable position, cross your legs, and I'll join you on the mat. So just sitting in a comfortable position. You can close your eyes. And since yoga is very much about the connection of breath with movement and with your mental state and your spiritual state, we're just going to start with some breath. So just close your eyes if you choose. You can always keep your eyes open and just kind of glance down toward the floor. Just having your face be nice and calm. Trying to sit tall through your spine. And then you can have your hands down on your thighs if you want them to be, if you feel you need to be grounded, and if you feel like you need to be open, then you can always open your hands and lift the palms to the ceiling. Just take some nice slow breaths. Notice how that feels as you're breathing in and as you're exhaling. And as you're sitting here in this posture, do a quick body scan. Are you leaning forward because your hips are kind of tight? Are you rounding forward? Is it a challenge to lower your legs toward the ground? And when we do these assessments, they're without judgment. So it's just an awareness, because then as you're practicing, you can make some focused efforts in trying to make an adjustment. Slowly open your eyes and just drop your chin down to your chest to get a nice stretch in the back of the neck. And lift your head and look over your right shoulder and drop your chin. And lift up and look over your left shoulder. So if this is your first time practicing virtually with me, or even in any of my in-person classes, I always mirror you so that we're always moving together on the same side or in the same direction. Lift up Looking forward, drop your ear toward your right shoulder so you're still looking forward, just a little bit different stretch on your neck. And then lift up and over. And also today, I'm sure I'll be moving all around my mat so that you have different views, just to make sure that you're clear on what the posture is. And sometimes it's hard to see if you're just looking straight ahead at my front. Come up. Let's just roll the shoulders back. I'm not sure where you are, but here it's a little bit damp and rainy and a little bit achy muscles on a damp fall day. So I like to listen to my body on those days and start off just a little bit more slowly. Let's lower the arms down and just reach up, sweep your arms up overhead, look up, and then lower your arms down. Reach up. Exhale, lower down. And one more time, reaching up. Lower down. Keep your right hand down to the floor. Lift up your left arm and reach. And then you can extend that arm, lengthening your side. So continue reaching. If you need to, you can extend that right arm further, maybe even come to your forearm. And if your neck feels loose enough, go ahead and look up at your hand. Your other option is to look straight ahead, but try reaching for the opposite side of the room so you feel a big stretch along your side. And notice how that stretch goes the whole way down into your hip area. Release and come up and switch, reaching with your right, beginning to take the right arm across. Walking your left arm out. An option again, looking toward your hand, which is your drishti, your point of focus. Or if that's uncomfortable on your neck, you can just look forward. Try keeping your legs down toward the ground. So if you feel that right knee lifting up, be conscious of it and lower it toward the ground to increase your side stretch. Come up. Good. So let's shift and come to our knees, hands and knees. We're going to alternate between the cat and cow poses. So your hands are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips. Take a deep breath in and then round your back like a cat. Let the head hang down. And then inhale, shift into cow pose, lifting up chest, letting the back sink. So the belly is stretching. Exhale, round the back like a cat. Now you feel your abdominal muscles contract. Keep alternating. You can go at whatever pace is comfortable for you. So we want to move when we feel we need to take that breath or we feel we need to exhale. Or you can go even slower and take an inhale and an exhale with each of these poses. So that's what's great about yoga, is it's your practice. I'm here just to guide you in some poses. One more time. Opening chest. Rounding the back, contracting your core. Coming back to neutral and just sit back on your heels. Take your arms forward for child's pose. And in child's pose, your forehead is to the floor. Trying to let your hips release and your arms are extended. Lift up enough to take your arms over to your right side. Drop your head down, getting that side stretch again. Hopefully this feels just a little bit different from when you were sitting and reaching above. Gently lift your head up and go to the other side. Just trying to prepare the torso, increasing some length in muscles along your sides, your back into your hip area. Come back to the center and come up, hands under shoulders. So let's wake up the core. Reach your right arm forward and then take your left leg back so that you are long. You're pulling your core up and in. Your back is long. Let's flex that foot, pulling the toes in toward the shin. Try pushing your heel away and keep lifting up away from the floor through your torso. You should feel your abdominal muscles engage, the muscles of your glutes, your butt, your low back start working, and release. Switching sides. So reach out. If you pointed your toe the first few breaths on the other side, go ahead and do that here. And then push your heel away. Feeling the stretch on the leg, the whole way down from your hip to your heel. You're looking toward the floor because you want your neck to be long. You want your neck to be in line with your back. And release. Sit back on your heels. Let's open the chest, taking the arms wide. And then if you have the flexibility to clasp your hands behind your back, go ahead and do that. Maybe you lift your hands higher. Just keep the shoulders down. Release. Come back to your tabletop position. Excuse me. Lift up your right arm. Look up toward the ceiling. Feel this twist in your low back. Thread the needle coming down to your shoulder, wrapping your other arm around your back. Place that left hand down to the floor. Use your gaze up to your hand, track it up to the ceiling, and then release, come down. And switch sides, using breath, inhaling as you reach up. On your next inhale, thread the needle coming to the shoulder. And wrapping the right arm behind the back. So you're really gentle here. So in this gentle yoga practice, unlike some other styles where in our power yoga, for example, or our vinyasa process where we're moving, getting the blood to go a little faster, it warms up the muscles. So here, since we're not doing sun salutations and moving to raise the heart rate, we want to be super gentle as we're warming up the muscles. Lower your hand to the floor. Reach up and bring your hand back down. So we're going to warm up those muscles by being somewhat repetitive in areas of where we're focusing. So come back to your heels, sitting up tall. Now this time we're going to place the hands down to the floor. Try to open your chest by pulling your shoulders back. And then lift up your hips a little bit. So again, another fact finding. How are your thighs feeling? How does your back feel today? How's your chest? Feeling that stretch in the front of the legs, front of the hips. Release. Just come up out of that pose. Take a breath. Hands come back down, lifting up hips. Opening chest a little bit. Stretching your thighs. And release and come down. Come up, place your hands on the floor. Walk your legs back if you need to. Hands are under your shoulders, and you're dropping into an upward facing dog, coming from an upper position. We usually go into up dog from the floor. Shoulders are down. Straight arms is a really big challenge for you. You can come down to a cobra pose where your hands are on the floor gently. From whatever pose, come back to child's pose just for one breath in and one breath out. Move forward, return to either your cobra. I call that up dog. It's actually cobra. And press back to child's pose. One more time, coming forward, using breath. Moving into your cobra pose, opening chest, shoulders down. And then this time come down to the floor. Placing your forearms to the floor, moving into Sphinx. So holding this pose, you're opening chest, your shoulders are down. Try to keep your legs relaxed first. You're just looking forward, feeling your belly stretch, feeling some work in your lower back as it hyperextends. Now play around a little bit. What happens if you tighten your quads, squeeze your butt muscles? For you, does that intensify your stretch or does it make it easier? And then try relaxing everything and see what happens. Our bodies are different. So what might feel one way for me might not be the same for you. And that's part of the yoga experience, is just becoming aware of how your body feels. Release and come down. Press back to child's pose, just for a breath. And move into a downward facing dog. First down dog. Tuck under your toes. Lift up your hips high. Now your index fingers are pointing forward. You're turning the inside part of your elbows forward. Dropping heels toward the ground and looking toward your belly button, toward your thighs. So this is considered an inversion because your head is down lower than your heart. So blood going to your brain. It's also a really great counter pose to the cobra and sphinx, anything that we're hyperextending. And if for some reason you feel dizzy, you can always drop down to your child's pose. It's always an option for you. From here, come out to a high plank. So you might have to adjust your hands. Your hands are under your shoulders. If high plank is a challenge, you may drop your knees. Try to keep your back long. Press back to your down dog. Feeling the stretch on the back of the legs, neck long. Breathing here. And then roll to high plank again. Pulling in the belly. Press back to down dog. So you might have to make some adjustments based on your torso length or your legs length. I always have to shift my feet back a little bit as I'm moving into my plank. You want to make sure hands are under shoulders. And then final time, down dog. Coming to your knees. Coming up high on your knees. Take your right leg forward for a low lunge. '90-degree angle on your front knee. So as you're sinking down, shoulders are down, looking forward. Just letting the body be heavy and sink to the floor. Stretching your hip flexors on your left side, up your thigh into the front of the pelvis. Now drop your hands to the floor and you have the option of straightening your back leg. When you straighten that back leg, you're increasing the stretch. So continue using breath, especially when things get challenging. You feel a lot of tension, use your breath, focus it in that area. Dropping your knee. Coming up. This time reach your arms up. Take the hands down to the floor. Straighten your back leg. I'm trying to get deeper into the stretch. Lower it down. Sweep your arms up. Maybe you go into a little bit of a bend, back bend. Looking up. Hands down one more time. And lower your leg. If you need to adjust your pose a little bit, go ahead. This time, reach up, bring your hands to prayer, and then twist over the leg. Looking behind you. You're pushing the back of your arm against your outside part of that right leg. The right leg's pushing back a little bit. You're just gently turning your head to the ceiling, looking behind you. Release to the center, hands down to the floor, and then come back to your knees. Just sit back in child's pose for a breath. And then come up. Taking your left leg forward and sinking down. Just letting your body sink toward the floor. Consciously trying to envision those muscles releasing. And then hands down. Option to straighten your back leg. When you're straightening your leg, you're trying to keep your heel high. That back leg is strong. You're still engaging your abdominal muscles and breathing completely. Lower your knee. Reach up. And bring the hands back down. Coming to your leg. Looking toward the ground when you're in this pose. Again, keeping the neck neutral. Lower down. Inhale, reach up. Maybe a little back bend. And hands down. And lift. And then lower down. Bring your hands up and to prayer. And then twist. Using the exhales to twist farther. And then release, hands down. And then come back to child's pose again. Hopefully you've had a really big stretch through the hips. And just stay here to breathe. And then slowly come up. So let's try to stretch the top of the feet a little bit further. Pushing your feet down to the floor. Let's lift up hips and chest first. Stretching the thighs again. And then drop your hips down. And you might need to have your hands on the floor for some support, but try pushing your weight into your tops of your feet and just lift your knees. And then release. And we'll do some other stretches for the tops of the feet. Now tuck under your toes. And you might need to touch your toes to try and get them all connected down to the floor. And let's stretch the bottoms of the feet. So you should feel a stretch on that fascia that runs along your feet into your heel bone. Feel your toes are bending back and feeling some stretches in your feet that you might not be used to feeling. And try to keep your body tall and your shoulders relaxed. And then release and come up. Good, let's have a seat. So just a comment about kind of wobbling or maybe not being able to do something you did yesterday or you did it better last week. A long time ago, like 20 years ago, somebody said in one of my yoga classes, yoga is a practice. It's not yoga perfect. And so keep that in mind. I noticed for me today, I'm wobbling a bit, and that could be because I'm fatigued or not focusing enough. So use those wobbles and use those things as just an aha, not a judgment. So sit up tall here. Just place your hands down to the floor, your fingers are forward, lifting chest. Drop your chin a little bit to look at your toes. And then reach your arms forward either to your shins or your toes. If you're reaching for your toes, try taking index and middle finger around the big toe and thumb around to clasp. And lengthen through your back and be gentle. Not done any hamstring stretches yet today. Allowing the breath to fill your back, pulling your belly away from your thighs, lengthening through the neck. I like the vision of taking the crown of my head to the top of my feet. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different imagery than trying to curl your back and put your nose on your knees. So let's go for length. And release and come up. Bend your right leg, bring the foot inside your thigh. So this is like a seated tree. It's actually head to knee posture, Janu Shavasana. We're gonna fold, taking chest to thigh. Try keeping your body level. So you're not twisting open, your shoulders are level, you're reaching for the bottom of your foot. But if you need to hunch your shoulders to reach your foot, then don't hold your foot. Try to keep your shoulders and your face calm. You're dropping that right leg down toward the ground, so keep it anchored to the floor. Feel the stretch on the back of your left leg. Sometimes it's easier to take one leg out of the equation to get a bigger stretch in the hamstring or go a little bit deeper. So it's good to try both so that you're targeting your stretch in different manners. Slowly roll up. Let's keep that left leg forward. Bend your right knee. Take your foot to the outside part of your leg so that you can stretch the top of that foot. Your legs are fairly close together. There's a little bit of a gap, so you're not in a straddle kind of position, sitting up tall. And then once again, shift forward so that you're going over that front leg, but you're trying to stay level. So if you feel your body turning and tilting to the side, just stay focused on being upright. Just trying to stretch right quad, right foot. And if you have a lot of knee pain here, then just go back to the previous pose, the head to knee pose that looks like a seated tree. Gentle, using breath. Focused breath. Every time you exhale, envision the muscles releasing and going deeper. And then come up slowly. Straighten that leg. And let's go to the other side. Bringing the left foot in toward the right thigh. Dropping your knee down. Turning. And then folding. Reaching your arms forward only if you can do so by keeping the shoulders down. Feeling the stretch not only on the back of the legs, but on your back. Just paying attention to how that feels in your lower back. Is there a stretch in your middle and upper back as well? Or are those calm? Should not have tension in your shoulders. And your arms are just gently reaching toward your foot without tension. And then come up. Switch, taking the foot down to the floor. Just getting used to sitting here in this posture for a breath or two. Feeling the stretch on the top of the foot. And then just like on the other side, if you feel your body leaning, just focus on trying to stay level first before you progress. And then progress slowly, or just stay. Again, the beauty of yoga is it's your practice and how you feel today, this moment. And then slowly rise. And take that leg out to the front. Let's return to the forward fold. Pulling your toes in toward you. Reaching for your toes, pulling your belly in and away from your thighs. So I like the visual that there's a bar here, and you can envision whether it's hot or cold, whatever. You don't want to touch it. You don't want it to rest on your belly. So you're pulling your abdominals away so that you're engaging those muscles, and then you're folding with length over your legs. And you have the option of staying passive here, letting your legs be soft, or if you want to really increase the stretch on the back of the legs, you can tighten the front of your thighs. You can tighten those quads. And then release and come up. Bring the soles of your feet together. Open your feet like a book. Elbows stay in, shoulders are down. And then bring your chest toward your feet. Keeping that neck long. Using your breath to sink deeper. Release and come up. And we'll do that again. Pull the belly in, round your back, and take the crown of your head to your feet. So it's different. Instead of taking your chest to your feet, you're going with your head. You're having a big, big curl in your spine. And then release and come up. Good. Bend your knees. So let's do a spine twist to just start working our little bit of the torso. So take your left leg and place it down on the floor, your left heel close to your bottom, and your right leg comes up and over. And then once you're in that position, you might have to shift a little bit so that you are in a neutral pelvis here, neutral hips. And then just wrap that left arm around the outside part of your foot. We're just gentle here. Little prep work. The right arm can wrap behind you, or if you need to have some stability, you can have that hand remained on the floor. Looking back over your shoulder. Release. From here, we're moving to cow face pose. So in cow face pose, you might have to shuffle a little on your mat. Stack your knees over each other the best you can. So if you're looking down at your leg, it's kind of a V. And then your feet are dorsiflex, meaning you're pulling your toes in toward your shins. And you feel a stretch immediately on that right hip. So gently lean forward. Try and increase that stretch. And maybe you just stay upright. Really depends on how tight your hips are. You can just drop your arms down to the ground. You're still active through your belly. So just because you're laying your belly toward your legs, you want to make sure that you're not relaxing your core. So you're still active and pulling them in. Pulling those low belly muscles are engaged and pulled away from your thighs. Slowly come up. Place your left hand to the floor, lift your right arm up, and let's stretch. Option to look toward the hand or out forward. Big stretch along your side. You can have a straight left arm or come down to the forearm like I am. Keep anchoring your right hip down toward the ground and come up. Let's switch sides. Reach up and over. And come up. And uncross. Let's switch. So your right leg is down. That left leg comes up and over. Again, adjust as you need to try and be stable through the hips. And turn toward the thigh for a gentle spine twist. Wrapping the arm around the back. And untwist and set up into your cow-faced pose here. Stacking your knees. And this might be a big challenge for you depending on your flexibility through your hips. Your goal is just to stack. And as long as you are feeling that stretch along the outside part of your left hip, then you are in the right position. That's what we're aiming for. And then move into whatever pose you feel best for you. You can stay upright or begin to lean forward. Focusing breath on releasing the tension of the hips. Roll up. Left or right hand to the floor, left arm reaches up and over. Moving into your stretch, looking at your hand, anchoring your hip down. Palming open, big side stretch down into the hip, into that IT band that runs along your leg. Come up and switch. Reach up and lengthen. And then come up and uncross your legs. Let's extend the legs and fold forward just as a release of the back. Slowly release. And we're going to stand, but only for one pose. It's because I want to use this pose as a prep for some of the other ones that we are going to do for finishing out our practice today. So rise and just open your legs. And your feet are facing forward, so they're parallel to the edge of your mat. Bring your hands to your hips, pull the belly in, and fold forward. You can take your hands down to the floor. If you feel a little bit lightheaded, you don't have to do this pose. What we're trying to do is start to stretch the inner thighs and the hamstrings just in a little bit different manner. So when you're in this pose, you're striving to take your head down toward the floor. So you're going for length through the back. And then you're shifting. So if you look at my pose, when I'm back in my heels, my hips are leaning back a little bit. So you want to shift forward into the front of your feet, trying to take some tension out of the heels so that your hamstrings can stretch further. And then come up, just put your hands on the floor. And just do a little bit of a hip shift side to side. So it's not something really big and visible. But as you are shifting your hips side to side, can you feel your inner thigh muscles stretching and releasing? So let's shift to one side and hold. And just stay here for 2 full breaths. You're still pulling the belly up and in. Shift the other way. And then release. Walk your feet in. And then step to downward facing dog. So we have 2 intense hip openers yet today. Move into your pigeon pose. So taking that right leg forward and extending your other leg back. And in pigeon, I'd like you to start upright. So if this is very challenging, you can always put a block or something under your right hip. If this is painful on your knee, you can do a recline pigeon. So if you're staying here in this upright pigeon, I want you to stay for another breath and then come forward to lower down and stretch. And if you need a modification for that, a recline pigeon is like doing a figure 4 stretch. So you can flip over. And if you need a bigger stretch there, you can cradle your lower leg with your knee bent or leg down. So you're just kind of upside down doing pigeon. So in this pose is a big stretch on your hips and into the hip flexor. So front of the pelvis, outside part of the hips. And you're just going to relax in whatever pose you're in, whether you're in recline pigeon or you're down in pigeon, stretching with your chest toward the ground. You're taking focused breaths into that hip. So your right hip is releasing the muscles. And then come up slowly. So if you're in recline pigeon, just stay on your back. If you are in regular pigeon, come back to down dog. And then set up on the other side. So if you're on your back, you're just switching legs. And if you are upright, you're going to hold in this upright position. Can you feel your hip flexors stretch up into your belly? Those muscles extend into your torso, so they're not just in the front of your pelvis. Relaxing shoulders. And then coming forward into your pigeon, extending arms, using breath. Take another full breath here. And then slowly come up. Pressing to down dog. If you are on your back for recline pigeon, you can stay there. I'll show you another version of our next exercise, our next pose. And if you did our full pigeon, just come down to your knees and we're moving into frog. And I do not believe we've ever done this in virtually in my class anyway, on YouTube. So what you want to do is walk your knees wide. And then you want to dorsiflex your toes, your foot, so they're pulling in, and try to stack your knees are in line with your heels. Come down to your forearms because you want your back to remain long. And then you can continue to sink down. And if you have the flexibility, you can come down with your chest to the floor, but you just want to make sure that your back is not arched and that you are stacked. So this is intense inner thigh stretch. Stay there in your pose. If you're on your back, you can try taking your feet toward a wall if you have a wall nearby. And if not, you can just open your legs. So walk your feet out on that wall. Trying again to have your heels in line with your knees, and you can put some gentle pressure inside your thighs. Stay with your breath. And again, if this is very intense for you, take your breath. Focus on the breath. How slow are you breathing? And every time you exhale, picture your muscles lengthening and releasing. And if you're in frog, not the recline frog, but you're pulling your belly still in, so don't let the belly relax just because you're laying against the floor. There's muscles, your abdominal muscles help to support your spine. Your core muscles or your low back, your hip muscles, and your abdominals. To come out of this pose, push your hands to the floor. It's easier to bring your toes kind of together and shift up. And if you're already on your back, you can stay there. Bring your legs together. And let's just roll over and come down to the floor. One bridge pose, lifting up your hips, pushing hips to ceiling, clasping hands underneath, opening chest. Lift your chin just a little bit so that your neck doesn't collapse toward the ground. We don't want to put pressure on the neck. And then release, come down. Bring both knees into your chest. Open your arms. Take both knees to the right. Let's extend that top leg. Try to straighten it. If that's very uncomfortable, go back to the bent knee. Straighten the leg and then try taking the leg up a little higher toward your head, just to intensify the stretch. Look the opposite direction. So you feel the stretch again along the outside part of the leg, up through the hip and through the side. Bring the knees together, lift up and over. Set up on the other side, straightening your leg. Taking the foot up higher toward your ceiling if your flexibility allows. And then come to the center. Lift up. Extend your legs to the ceiling. Hands by your side. This is legs up the wall. You may close your eyes here. Let's just let our legs relax. We did some foot stretches today. Our feet carry our weight all day long. Not always just our weight, but the weight of other things. So we need to care for our legs and our feet. And then whenever you're ready, you can move to Shavasana. Bending your knees, extending your legs. Palms of your hands up, legs wide. So you can stay in legs up the wall if you want to. Or move to Shavasana. And in Shavasana, you're allowing the body to be still, but your mind is still focused. It's still present on your practice. So you can certainly close your eyes. And if you find your mind wandering, just gently bring it back to the present. Remind yourself that you're still in yoga practice, that you still are paying attention to yourself. This is your time. You are welcome to stay in your Shavasana, or you can come up to a seated position to close out the practice with me. And from your seated position, reach your arms up, look up. Take a breath in, bring the hands down to the center of your chest, and just pause. Think of something for which you are grateful. Fill your heart, your mind, your body with that joy. I wish you well, and until I see you again, either in my in-person classes at the York branch or here on YouTube, namaste. Hopefully, your lower body, your hips, all nice and relaxed. This is a really great practice for runners and walkers and so forth. So, wish you well. I'll see you soon. Have a great one. Bye-bye.